Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew, coming to you from the beautiful Carolinas. Today's topic is going to be why you thought it was only you. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. So when you were in the relationship, yes, the narcissistic relationship, you thought it was you. You thought that you were the one that had all the problems, you had the concerns. You weren't doing enough. You weren't working hard enough. You were not there when you should have been there. You see, the narcissist was blaming you for you being you. And they were manipulating you and abusing you. And they were tricking you and trapping you. And they were keeping you placed in a very desolate environment called the narcissistic fog, or the trauma bond, whatever you want to call it. But this is where they captured you and they placed you for a period of time, which was the length of the relationship. And this is when you were isolated. You were being isolated in your own house. This is when you would be grabbing dinner with the narcissist, or maybe on the couch watching a program, and you never felt more alone. Because what was more important? Well, their smartphone was more important, or their tablet, or the phone, or the computer, whatever it was. But anything but you was more important. And this is when you began to start blaming yourself. Blaming yourself for the relationship, blaming yourself for what you did or didn't do in the relationship up to that point in time. And you, I can assure you, you thought it was only you. You thought that you were the person that had the concerns. You were the person who wasn't doing what you should have been doing. Because by design, the narcissistic abusive cycle, it's meant to isolate its people that get trapped in it. These people, i.e. you or myself, we were meant to continue to believe in the mask and the false narrative of the narcissist, that in fact, they did know what's best. They did have our best interest at heart. They did care about us. They did love us. They did everything they could have been doing to keep that relationship going as good as it could have gone. We now know that you, the person who was watching the video, you were in the relationship and you were targeted. You were looked at as an opportunity. You were isolated. You were manipulated. All of your resources took a hit left, right, and center, which included your time, energy, love, money, empathy, your resources, your family, your relationships, your hobbies, your work, I can assure you, took a hit. And this is what the narcissist wanted to do. They wanted to slowly extract everything they could from you each and every day. And the longer you would stay in that relationship, they took more and more from you. And they were giving you less and less and less, until eventually that relationship snapped. Something gave, something broke. And the narcissist, the whole time, they were trying to break that relationship. We now know that. But when that relationship ended, it ended probably with a thud, a crash, a bang. You probably were discarded, although maybe you weren't. Maybe you removed yourself from the relationship. Either way, the relationship ended, and you had to do a few pivotal things. One, you had to heal. You had to really slow your life down and process things. You had to focus on yourself. You had to stay insulated in that cocoon of boundaries. You had to realize that nobody, and I mean nobody, was going to come knock on your door. And you had to watch videos, meditate, journal, see a therapist, heal childhood wounds, read. You had to really process so many things. While you were healing, the narcissist was simply slithering away onto another source of supply, or sources, plural. Because this is what the narcissist does. They want to take the best from one person, which was you. They want to take anything they possibly can from you, your hopes, dreams, aspirations, relationships, goals, your future, your soul. They want to take all this from you. Then they want to crumble you up like a sheet of paper. They want to throw you away on the freeway, and then they want to see what happens. They want to watch from afar to see if you're going to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, dust yourself off, and heal. Now, the narcissist has never met anybody like you. They've never met anybody that has healed. They've never met anybody that has put themselves back together like you have. They've never met anybody who is full of courage, resilience, commitment, dedication, love, abundance, honesty, strength, and diligence. This is what encompasses you. All those adjectives are all the things the narcissist doesn't possess. The narcissist is hollow, they're shallow, they're filled with anxiety. They are always looking over their shoulder to see which penny will drop or which shoe will drop next. They're always trying to keep that closet door slammed shut with all the skeletons that are trying to pop out of it. You see, the narcissist always has one foot in the relationship and one foot out the door. No matter what part of the relationship you were in the beginning, the middle, or the ending of that, this is how the narcissist looked at you, because they were holding their breath. They were wondering when you would figure it out, if you would figure it out, if you would see behind the mask, if you would heal, if you would get that light bulb moment and deduce that they in fact are a toxic person, maybe even a narcissist. Also, they wanted to see if you would figure out how strong you are, how courageous you are, and how resilient you are, and if you would ever put yourself back together. Bear in mind, the narcissist, before they met you, they had crushed so many hopes, dreams, aspirations of so many people before they met you. They thought you would just be the next in line to take the abuse and maybe not even exist, if you can read between the lines, but that's not what happened. You're here. You're getting your cup full. You're understanding that you are the priority. You come first, second, and third, and there's no place in your life for toxicity, specifically from the narcissist or any toxic person any longer, because now you've seen something that most people don't see. You've experienced behaviors that most people can't fathom. You've knocked out something that you didn't even know that you were up against. You were in a boxing match, if you will, 12, 16, 50 rounds against a nemesis who you thought you loved, who never ever cared about you. All they had was disdain for you. And they kept on toying with you and doing the rope-a-dope and messing with you and giving you a little fake empathy, a little fake kindness, and then boom, they would take a swing at you again. Boom, boom, boom. These are all the macro discards within the overall relationship that you were a part of. Throughout the body of that relationship, you experienced many micro discards until ultimately something gave, and that was the ending of the relationship. But throughout that relationship, I can assure you, the narcissist was testing the temperature of you. They were watching how you behaved, how you moved, if your bank account was increasing or going to zero, if your network of friends or support system was staying around you, or if they could divide or drive wedges between them and you, if the kids that you created or perhaps were a step parent to would be loyal to you, or if they would continue to listen to the bully, the coward, the narcissist. The narcissist was always observing and watching and testing and seeing how much you would tolerate, how much you would take. But when you were in that relationship, you thought it was only you. You didn't know that narcissism existed. You weren't taught this in school. You had no idea what triangulation was, my least favorite thing these people administer. You didn't know what the smear campaign was. You just thought it was somebody spreading a rumor or a fib. You didn't know what the silent treatment was. You just thought it was somebody that didn't feel like talking for a day, a week, a month, 3 years. You didn't know what mirroring was, projection was, object constancy. You didn't know what gaslighting was. You didn't know what stonewalling was or word salad. Now you're understanding what all these definitions are in the glossary on the narcissistic abusive cycle, because you've experienced these and so many more. And your experience with the definitions in the glossary on the book of the narcissistic abusive cycle, this equals wisdom. This newfound wisdom that you have acquired or you are acquiring, it's a superpower, and it's a superpower on steroids once you wrap your head around the fact that there are many, and I do mean many people on the planet who don't have your best interest at heart, who don't want you to succeed, who are envious of you, who are jealous of you, who may even want to be you. And at the top of that list is whom? That's right, it's the narcissist. And they never ever thought you would deduce this. They didn't think you would figure it out, and they definitely didn't think you would put yourself back together. But why you thought it was only you? Because again, you weren't taught this. You didn't have anything to compare it to. So when you were in the relationship, and let's say friends would come over for a barbecue, etc., and they'd say, hey, how's it going? Everything seems to be going well. And you would look at them kind of tilt your head and say, like, why would you say seems? Everything's going great. Well, back then things weren't going great, but you were so deep in the narcissistic fog, you would make excuses for the narcissist and for the relationship. What you didn't know is when that neighbor came over to your house and said, how's everything going? Everything seems to be going well. Well, what they were trying to tell you, and they didn't know it back then because they were a flying monkey without even knowing it, or maybe they were toxic themselves, who knows, but they were being told what the smear campaign was. They were being told not so good things about you and how the relationship behind the scenes wasn't what it was supposed to be. You see, the narcissist was telling people that you were the problem. You were the person who wasn't doing what you should have been doing. And the whole time they were telling you all the negative things that weren't true about you, you were making excuses for the narcissist, and you were putting on band-aids to all the cuts they were inflicting upon you and any relationship that you were a part of, specifically the narcissistic relationship that you were in. You see, this is the whole conundrum. It's the whole, if you can wrap your head around this part of the video, you're gonna be really doing well. The narcissist is the polar opposite of you. They're the darkness, you're the light. They're the evil, you're the goodness. So think about what I just mentioned with you. When you were in the relationship, you didn't know what narcissism was. And let's use that barbecue as an example. If a mutual friend or someone came over and said, hey, how's everything going? Everything seems to be going well. And you couldn't read between the lines back then, but what that really means is they're being told something different than what you're telling them. And that is not a good thing. That's a red flag. Please play that part of the video, play it a few times. This is one microcosm of how the narcissist divides you, your children, you, your job, you, your health, you, your money, you, your status, you, your neighbors, and you and anybody that matters to you or anything that matters to you. But you weren't supposed to figure this out. So remember why you thought it was only you, because you had nowhere to turn to. You didn't have anything to bounce off your relationship with someone who could equate their own experiences with. Example, most people on the planet are either one of three kinds of people. Now, this is not scientific, but in layman's terms, it's what it is. You're either a toxic person, all the way on the left. You're somewhere in the middle, which I would call living in the everyday fog, which are just people that aren't necessarily toxic, but aren't necessarily the third group, which is the empath. And the third group is the empath. But the empathetic, kind, loving, stable, healthy people, we are few and far between. We are very, very small, a very small group of people. But we are the people usually that the narcissist tries to target, because we don't want to quit. We don't want to give up. We want the best for other people. We want to build and not destroy. We want to grow and not divide. We want to live and have an abundant life with someone who claimed that cared about us. Well, we now know that that person was the narcissist. So no, this is when we go no contact. We block the narcissist. We delete them, remove them, and all fly monkeys and people associated with them. But having said that, think about this. There is way more toxicity currently on the planet than there is empathy. And if you really are questioning that one, and believe me, I'm an empath if there ever was one, think about how many people you know that have the level of empathy that you possess. I'll give you 10 seconds. Think about it. How many people do you know that have the level of empathy that you have? That's right, not many. That's why you're rare. That's why the narcissist targeted you. That's why you stayed in the relationship as long as you did. That's why you thought it was only you, because you thought that you were responsible for the relationship. This is what the narcissist wanted you to think. They were trying to dump all their toxicity into you, having you take accountability for their poor behavior. This is what the narcissist does when they met you. It's what they did before they met you. It's what they're doing right now. You see, the narcissist needs a sounding board. They need someone to pump up their fragile ego. They need someone to tolerate the poor behavior, which includes gaslighting, stonewalling, etc., like I talked about already on the video. They need someone to put up with their toxicity. At the same time, what the narcissist needs is they need someone to turn a blind eye to the poor behavior, to cover up for them, to not call them out, to not do anything other than to be subservient to them, and to not have a voice in a relationship. In each and every narcissistic relationship, there are two sets of rules. There's the set of rules, number one, for the narcissist, and in their tiny little pea brain, they can do no wrong, so they can do whatever they want to do. Then there's a set of rules for everybody else, and everybody else must fall into line as to the wishes and the whims of the narcissist. And if they don't, there will be a price to pay. That's why the narcissist keeps enablers around. That's why they hire flying monkeys. That's why they want people relying on them. That's why the narcissist, if they have money, usually they withhold finances or administer finances to any which way the wind blows, as long as it benefits them or makes them look good. That's why when the narcissist doesn't have money, they will play the victim card and say, oh, you're so fortunate. I can't believe you have so much money. Can't you just give me some, or buy me a condo, or put a roof over my head, or pay tuition for university, etc.? You see, this is why the path is to remove yourself from these people. It's to get rid of them, leave them, go no contact, etc. But when you were in that relationship, you thought it was only you that was experiencing these poor behaviors. You didn't know what narcissism was. You didn't have a stable person to communicate with who could say to you, you know what? That sounds like narcissism. That sounds like gaslighting. Check this video out. Maybe look into this. Maybe watch this video. Maybe read this book, whatever. You didn't have that. And the reason you didn't have it is because most of the people that you were talking with were either toxic themselves, B, they couldn't wrap their head around it, or C, they're in the everyday fog and they're just grabbing their popcorn and watching your life spin around and around and around. You see, this is how people are. Most people on the planet care about themselves, not the same way the narcissist does, but most people live in their own little world, and as long as they have food, shelter, water, and they go on a 2-week vacation every year, they're happy. That is not everybody. That's a lot of people. Now then you flip it to the narcissist. All they care about is themselves. They don't care about other people. They don't care about their children, their spouses, their parents, their colleagues, coworkers, their besties of 25 years. Anyone, and I mean anyone, is disposable to the narcissist. Any single person, their sisters, their mom, their children, anybody is expendable. You're now getting that message, or you have understood the message. This is why you really need to understand that it wasn't just you. But the way the narcissistic abusive cycle is built by design, and each one of these people, they all play from the same playbook. I'm talking the narcissist. They all use the same tactics and techniques. They all manipulate the same way. They all want people crawling back, apologizing for things they never did. They all want the unpaid helper, the walking apology, the sounding board, the chauffeur, the butler, the errand person, the cook, the cleaner, the person who will tolerate the poor behavior, the person who will text them on weekends when they go away on girls' weekends or go away on guys' weekends. You see, this is what the narcissist needs. They need attention. They need to be needed. They need to feel special. They need to feel important. They need to be pumped up higher and higher on that pedestal to the detriment of the person who's pumping them up. Because no good deed goes unpunished with the narcissist. The narcissist lives for the moment. They don't live in the present moment where you live and I live. They live for the moment. So example, and I've shared this in the past, if you had plans with the narcissist and you were looking forward to doing something and they agreed, then all of a sudden they change the plans. There are a couple reasons why that would happen. One, because they didn't want you to enjoy whatever it was. Two, because something better came along in their book, and they didn't want to go and do whatever you wanted to do with them because they get double supply out of that. One, by having you not enjoy whatever event or circumstance that was. And number two, by not going with you and then by going somewhere else. Now you're wondering where they are, what they're doing. You see, the narcissist wants negative supply and positive supply. They don't care as long as it's supply, as long as they matter. My take, and I've always shared this and I'll share it again, and I will never, and I mean never, change my mind. The narcissist cares about negative supply way more than positive supply. Because if they can take a beautiful, bright, shining light like you, somebody abundant, maybe even an empath, a kind, loving, stable, healthy person, and they can dump all their toxicity into you and having you do what? That's right, having you think it was only you and that you were to blame and it was your fault for the relationship, etc. If they can dump that and twist your mind into believing that, then they steal your energy and they catapult themselves onto the next leg of life, and they dumped all their sewer-like toxicity into you. That is the energetic exchange between the empath and the narcissist. That's why the narcissist is drawn to the empath like a flame. That's why there are not many empaths on the planet. That's why if you are one, you need to hold that like a badge of honor, and you need to understand that you are in rarefied air. You are a very unique person. You have a skill set that most people can't wrap their head around, and at the top of that list is the narcissist. That's why they looked for you. That's why they targeted you. That's why they wanted to extinguish your beautiful, bright, shining light. But think about what I'm mentioning to you. When you're in that relationship, you thought it was only you. You were supposed to think that. You were supposed to believe that you didn't do enough. You should have done more. You should have given them more chances. You should have put a roof over their head for a longer period of time. You should have loved them more. You should have given them more money. If only you didn't do A, B, and C. If only you didn't do X, Y, and Z. Well, let me tell you right now, the narcissistic relationship was going to end one way or the other. Each and every one of these relationships has an expiration date. The narcissist knew this the minute they met you. All they did was they played the short, medium, or long-term game with you, and they said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take as much as I possibly can from this person, which was you, once I get them to enter the relationship with me, maybe even love me or fall in love with me, and I'm going to slowly bleed them dry of their resources. That's what I'm going to do. And right when I have my hooks sunken into them, then I will begin to slowly extract them, resources, and I will also slowly begin to pull back and remove myself more and more from this person. The love bomb stage will all but not exist because it was fake anyway, and I'll begin to devalue this person. And slowly, I'll be asking for more money, more time, new car, new watch, more Amazon, more trips around the world, more clothes. I need help with my family. My mom needs money. My sisters need money. My siblings need money. I just need this. Oh, that house that you bought us last year, it's not big enough. Even though it's only the two of us, we need a 5-bedroom house now. Oh, that's not big enough. We need a 6-bedroom house now. Oh, we just relocated 2 hours away from your parents. No, let's now move halfway around the world to a country where you don't even speak the language. You see, this is what the narcissist wants to do. They want to isolate people. They want to keep people away from their network. They want to keep people away from their support system. They want these targets, these people for themselves, so they can slowly bleed them dry anywhere on the planet, and nobody, and I mean nobody, will be there to rescue them or save them, because the narcissist wants to devour people. They want to crush people from the inside out. They want to take all of their own toxicity, i.e. the narcissist, dump it into somebody, which is a beautiful, bright, shining light, and switch spaces with you. And they accomplished this. They accomplished it with you for a period of time, which was the length of the relationship, but they can no longer do that. because now you realize it wasn't only you. You thought it was only you, but it wasn't you. It's been hundreds of millions of people since time began, possibly even billions of people that have gone through the narcissistic abusive cycle. And the more I think about this, yes, it's been billions of people who have gone through it. The thing is, way back when, pre-interwebs, pre-internet, and pre-smartphone, nobody, and I mean nobody, could wrap their head around what this stuff was, because you usually were in your own little town or city or community. You usually didn't venture out that often. But what did the narcissists do? Well, they figured out rather quickly, oh my gosh, there's an invention called the airplane. I can now go get supply from different parts of my state, different parts of my country. I can now jump on an airplane and get supply from halfway around the world in a language I don't even speak. Then after the airplane came around, what happened? Well, then we had the interweb or the internet. Now the narcissists can get supply from anywhere all over the globe again, but they don't even have to get on an airplane. Then what happened? Oh, that's right. Then the smartphone came around, and this is where the narcissists really thrived. Now they can get on video calls, audio calls, text 24/7, get on social media apps, dating apps. They can do whatever they want to, change the profile picture to somebody who looks like an Adonis when in fact they are bald, 4'2", spaghetti-stained t-shirt, and they're eating Fruit Loops and Cheerios out of their parents' basement, and they haven't paid a bill in 20 years. You see, this is what the narcissist does. They want to control people, manipulate people, keep people trapped and stuck in that narcissistic abusive cycle. And that's where you were for a period of time. But once you break free, or once that relationship ends and you find that needle in a haystack, you realize this was not just you. You thought it was just you. That's what the narcissist wanted you to think, but it wasn't just you. There are so many of us who have gone through the cycle, and there are so fewer of us who've gone through the cycle and put ourselves back together. And there are even fewer of us who've done those two and reached the pinnacle of indifference, the mountaintop of indifference. This is where we no longer care about the narcissist because we've healed. We have risen through the ashes like a phoenix. We put ourselves back together, dusted ourselves off, and we now understand that we are the priority. We come first, second, and third. But those numbers are growing. I'm talking about the people at the pinnacle of indifference, because myself and so many people who have helped arrive there are reaching our arms and hands down to reach you up and pull you up to get to where we are. This is rarefied air. It's where you belong. It's where perhaps you are, or where it's where you're headed. This is where the narcissist never thought you would arrive, but this is where you're headed or where you are. So understand the message. You were supposed to think it was just you. It wasn't just you. The narcissist was a master manipulator, and they wanted you thinking that it was your problem. It wasn't your problem. You were targeted, and you were stuck in the narcissistic fog, and you were existing in that trauma bond. That's not a good place. But then something broke, something snapped, something gave. You figured it out, and here you are. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful, and I mean beautiful, Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. Remember that. You are not alone. I love you all. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. And when you thought it was only you, this is what the narcissist wanted you thinking. So when you were in the relationship, you probably were talking to them, and you were probably explaining, hey, what's going on here? I didn't sign up for this. Or why are you doing this? I thought we were in love. Or we got married. What about this? Every time you would communicate with them and tell them something like that, they would be gauging you, testing your temperature, seeing how close you would be getting to figure out who they were. But they never wanted you to figure it out. So they would string you along longer and longer and longer until they got your replacement in place, or until they got whatever they wanted from you. But remember, there's no such thing as an intelligent conversation with the narcissist. That has never happened in the history of humankind. It will never happen right now. When I say intelligent conversation, I mean you will never, and I mean never, A, get closure from the narcissist, or B, even when you're in the relationship, and certainly when you're out of it, you'll never be able to sit down and look at them right in the eyes and they'll answer direct questions. Not going to happen in 1,000 years, because they don't know how to answer. There is nothing to these people. They just run around in a loop, that loop of destruction and misery and anxiety. They don't know how to answer direct questions. Understand, by design, the narcissistic abusive cycle is built to prey upon empaths and to prey upon people who have the ability to love and have the ability to put others in front of themselves. Remember, before I close the video, we now become the educated empath. We now harness our empathy for those loved and trusted ones around us. We don't just give our empathy away to anybody, because anybody could mean giving it to a narcissist. I love you all. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, everybody. Oops, sorry, I thought I shut the video down.